Welcome back to The Pivotal Point with Dwayne Barnes. Today we're picking up with part 2 of my conversation with the powerful V King. And in this one, we go deeper. V opens up about the toxic relationship that almost broke her, the pain, the silence, and the moment she finally said, enough is enough. This is the part where she got unstuck. Not by force, but by choosing herself. By walking away from what was killing her spirit. By rebuilding her life on truth, power, and freedom. If you've ever stayed too long, felt invisible in your own relationship, or wondered if it's too late to start over, this one's for you. Let's get into it.
Mm, That's beautiful. That's sad, but beautiful. So just to be clear, so did you guys know your mother was dealing with something, or was this completely out of the blue?
We had just found out, as she did, I believe. So she had been complaining about her stomach hurting for maybe a month. And I kept asking her to please go to the doctor. She goes to the doctor and they give her some medicine, but it doesn't help. So she goes back, and I remember getting a call from her doctor, and they said the oncology department. And I was like, what? And the doctor told us that she had leukemia.
Mm,
And I was very familiar with leukemia because my high school sweetheart died of leukemia my last year of high school
mm,
in 1980. He passed in 1988. And so, sorry, 1987, because I graduated 88. He transitioned December of 1987. And so I knew that, I knew what it was, and I knew that the older you are, the less likely you are to make it unless you get a bone marrow transplant. And by the time Nikki and I got to Omaha the first time, they gave her 2 months to live. So it was very aggressive.
mm.
And I have to tell you, she was probably the happiest I experienced her in years. She just seemed like, finally.
Mm.
Yeah.
You felt like she was ready to go when you say finally?
Yes.
Mm,
Mm-hmm.
mm.
Yes.
Wow. That's very, very interesting. And how does that make you feel looking back on it?
I have peace with it. Like I feel like I am, and I talk about this a lot when I go live or in other interviews, and Sekou doesn't like to hear me say it, but if I were to go today, man, I've had such an extraordinary life that I didn't expect. Now, don't get me wrong. I have so much more that I want to be and do and have and give and experience. However, I can't say that God owes me any more. I've had a good life.
Wow.
And so I've always been kind of okay with death. I've been losing people since I was very young. So I think I have I don't know, maybe a normal, I don't know, a healthy relationship with death.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that, because we all got to go down that road.
Yes, we
We
do.
all have to go. So that's beautiful that you have made peace with that, and that it seems like your mother made peace with it. And
She
thank you.
did.
That's not wonderful that she had to go. You know what I'm saying? But
I know what you're
it
saying.
feels good to know that she wasn't freaking out in a sense. So,
No, not at all.
Sophie, I
Yes.
want to turn to, let's talk about February 2nd, 2018. This is after your mother has passed, your start over. What did that moment teach you about surrender and self-worth? Or just what do you want to share about that date? Because that date is just a very powerful, pivotal moment for you. You want to share with us about that?
Yeah, it was, Dwayne. I've shared a lot. So I've experienced a lot of things. I've seen, I've done. February 2nd. Actually, let's start with February 1st. No, you know what? Let's go back to December
Okay.
19th, 2016, when I said yes to leaving LA for a relationship.
Okay, let's go there.
Let's go there. It was December 19th, 2016. I'm leaving LA for good, moving to Orlando for a relationship that I had come back to. I was in the airport, and I think there was some weather, I want to say in Chicago, that would not allow me to fly from LA to Orlando. So I have my cat in tow, I have my luggage, I've already shipped most of the things, and I've downsized and I've sold things, and I'm excited to start this new chapter of my life. And that's what I kept telling myself. I kept saying, no, this is good. I'm excited. And I kind of was, but the closer I got to leaving, I thought, I don't know if this is the right thing to do and for the right reasons. I don't know if this is the right reason. And I remember a trainer friend of mine saying, so you're moving to Orlando for a relationship, but you're not engaged, you're not getting married? I was like, no, because being married has literally never been on my radar, ever. I always thought something's wrong with me. I must be weird. I'm different. When the girls in junior high and high school would talk about their wedding day and getting married and the guy and having kids with good hair and all the things, I would just, I got to pretend like I know what this is, and that I'm on board, but I never was. Never aspired to that. So I didn't feel like I needed that. I get to Orlando, and I ended up being in Orlando in this relationship for 13 months. And so many things happened in such a short amount of time that made me question everything I thought I knew how to do, from how to take care of myself, how to make a living, how to earn money, how to cohabitate with another human being. And what I realized in hindsight, once I got through it, is that I did know how to do it because I did it. However, I had so many questions because I felt like for the first time in my life, I made a mistake so big. It felt like I was in prison. And that's been my biggest fear growing up, is going to prison and or being a single parent. Top two fears ever since I was a little girl. I am not going to do anything that's going to land me in prison, and I don't want to be a single parent. And here I am in Orlando feeling like I'm in prison. And I didn't know how to get out. And I'm in an open air prison because there are no locks. There are no concrete floors and walls. There are no bars. Like I'm free. I can leave anytime I want. But it was also the first time where I didn't have my own resources, where I didn't have friends. I didn't have friends to call, to go visit, to have a conversation with. I felt like I was being isolated. And something happened. I'm in the gym. Usually when I'm in this gym, usually when I'm in the gym, whether it's in the morning, afternoon, in the evening, 99% of the time, I'm the only one in the gym. But on this day, there was a slightly older Caucasian woman in the gym. talking, she tells me that she does some sort of work that I'm not able to really pinpoint, but it felt like she was some sort of coach, like a life coach. And she offered me a free session. I go into her daughter's apartment to get this free session. And Dwayne, I, I, I don't think I've ever cried that much and that hard. It was visceral. And I finally admitted out loud and to this stranger that I don't know how to live life. Like, I don't know what just happened to me. Like, I went to sleep Friday, I was normal. I had hair, and I woke up Saturday and I thought, okay, is this what happens when you become a schizophrenic? Is this what happens when you lose your whole mind? Is this what happens when you lose sight of who you are? Like, I felt like I was an alien. I did not know myself. And I don't typically get depressed. I'll have moments of intense sadness. It was the first time where, out of all the deaths I've experienced, the people I've lost, it was the first time that I laid in bed and cried all day. So that terrified me. I was like, I didn't do this when my mom died. I didn't do this when Michael Morgan died. I didn't do this when Louise died. So I'm like, oh no, I'm losing my mind.
Let's pause for 1 second, because I want to make sure our listeners understand. So you met a man who basically swept you off of your feet, right? Tall, yes. Dark, and handsome. Everything that you know is in the book. You guys read the book, UNSTUCK. I mean, she breaks it down beautifully. It was like magic, the way they connected. And you fell in love, and you were invited to Florida to come live with them, right? And you made that decision. Now, I just want to offer something, because I know you, and I know the one thing that I know about you is you keep yourself active and busy. You have run marathons. Seriously, this is like the busiest woman I've ever known. Like, she has run marathons. She's at the gym, like working out, like she is a World Wrestling Federation member or something. Or she works hard. So I wonder, and this is, you can tell me no if you disagree with it. I wonder, when you moved to Florida, was it the first time that you slowed down and that you had to face all of that grief from your mother, from Louise, from all, so is it possible that this was it was a healing journey? Ooh. Even though it looked like you were stuck because you couldn't do the control thing. You couldn't do the thing where you're in control, and I got this, and I got to go do this, and I got money, and I got to do this. This is the first time where the universe, God, whoever you want to give credit to, this is the first time where it allowed you to face yourself, to face your truth, to face your grief. Do you think yes?
You are so good, by the way. Like, really, you're asking questions of me that no one has ever asked, ever, and that I've never thought about in this way. What I have thought about is that what I've said to myself and in my book and in other interviews is that if you want to make God laugh, tell God your plans And God had been saying, I have been doing everything I can, honey, to get your attention. And you're like a basketball player who can shake and move and go for the layup and the alley-oop, you moving fast. And God said, this is the only way I can get your attention. And I know it's going to feel like I don't love you. I know it's going to feel like the worst pain you've ever experienced. I know. And I'm sorry, but this is what I'm choosing to do to get your attention. Because, yes, to answer your question, absolutely. It was the first time that I didn't have a job. The first time since 12, and I'm 46.
Wow.
First time since the age of 12 that I did not have a full-time job. It was the first time that I'd been in a relationship where I felt dependent upon someone else for my existence. And that didn't feel comfortable at all. And there was an arrangement, there was an agreement made, and the agreement fell apart on day 3. And that terrified me. So I take full responsibility. A, I said yes. B, I attracted that person. So I'm culpable. I get that. And my book is not about pointing fingers and making him the bad guy and being a victim. It is really about a woman who became victorious over her life and took responsibility and took her life back. So to answer your question, yes, I definitely feel like I, for the first time, really had an opportunity to process my trauma. But unfortunately, I think, it's so deep. The trauma is so deep that I really needed some guidance. I needed someone to help me to process it and unpack it. And I didn't have that because I didn't realize that that's what it was. For the first, I want to say, maybe 9 or 10 months of that experience, I was living my life as a victim. Why is this happening to me? God, and I had the audacity to say to God, what have I done so wrong in my life for you to forsake me? And I was like, who speaks like that? I don't even talk like that. I was like, oh my God, now I'm talking to myself. I mean, I really thought that I was being punished. I thought that this was my punishment. And then I convinced myself that I deserved it. Well, maybe that one time you did this. Yeah, this is payback for this. It was a challenging time. It was a really, and because I'm through it, I can say challenging, but the real word I want to use is, it was an effed up time. Yeah.
You know what I thought about as you said that? You know who else said, God, why have you forsaken me? You know who else said that?
You?
Jesus. That's what he said on the cross.
Yes.
And that's our human side. That's our human side. Our spiritual side knows what's happening. But our human side is the side that questions and all of that kind of stuff. But it sounds like you were definitely going through a spiritual healing journey, like based on what I hear about your life. And it just feels like it all culminated in this Florida moment. And so now you're losing your hair. Is this when you know that you have alopecia? You don't really know at this point.
Yeah, well, alopecia I've known really since my 20s.
Okay.
But I was in denial. And this is not going to happen to me because I drink water and I work out.
Those are the antidotes to everything. You work out. And
I'll be drinking my water. And so I knew that it was going to happen. I knew. I don't know if you remember this, Dwayne. but I had gotten my hair braided for a weave. So I had my signature look. It was that cute faux hawk, and it was ombre and all the things, and I had the Jeep. And my hairstylist, what she would always do, she first braids it, and then she sews the hair onto the braids. And I started hyperventilating, and I was having a little bit of a panic attack. And I started crying, and because I was so, I felt so attached to that look, that brand that I created. And so I was crying because I was like, oh no, I'm gonna be walking around the streets looking crazy. I don't have my signature look. What am I gonna do? I wasn't able to let her braid sew the hair onto my braids, because the tighter it became, the less I could breathe. And so she said, Fee, let's let your scalp relax for a few days, and then why don't you come next week and we'll do it. And so I was like, okay. I get in the car and I drove to your house, and I called you from outside the gate, and I said, are you home? And you're like, yeah, why? And you could hear it in my voice. I said, can I just come in for a minute? I said, I'm outside. You're like, yeah. And you answer the door, and I just start crying. And you're like, boo, what's wrong? And I was like, I'm losing my hair. Like I knew it. And, you gave me all these beautiful positive affirmations. You're still beautiful, and Fee, it's going to be okay. And, girl, they got wigs and all the things. So whenever I was able to get my weave, I felt like I was buying time. And then when I got to Orlando, the guy that I was dating, we had a conversation, and I shared with him, I said, listen, I'm probably going to lose my hair. And he was like, oh, I love short hair. I was like, no, I'm going to lose my hair, not short. It's not going to be short. It's not going to be that cute Halle Berry cut. It's going to be gone. And he was like, I'm fine with it. I think you're beautiful. Okay. And I said, but I don't want to be pressured or rushed. I need it to happen organically when I feel like it's the right time. And let me tell you, running in that oppressive, hot, humid Orlando heat was the determining factor. I was like, I cannot breathe. I've got to let go of this wig. I'm running wearing a wig. And so he shaved my head January 1st, 2017. It was liberating, but it was also terrifying. I remember my sister asking me maybe 4 or 5 months later, she's like, you're not over it yet? And I was like, I had hair for 47 years. So no, I'm not. When I look in the mirror, I don't see Fee. I see this bald woman. And so that was a process of navigating that. And again, it would have been nice to, have my girls. I didn't have my girls with me. I didn't have you. I'm just there by myself navigating this new space, but I had God. And that's real. What I learned was that's really all I ever needed.
Yes.
All
Yes.
I ever needed. And I'm like,
Yes.
man, I apologize to you
Yes.
for evading you for all these years.
Yes. I personally feel like people who had trying childhoods, I feel like we have a stronger connection with God, stronger connection with our ancestors and our angels if we just accept it,
Yes.
So listening to your story, it just really, really kind of makes it super clear to me, because you've gone through so much, and yet you still stand, and you still rise, and you still show up every day, every single day. So I hope that you are so proud of yourself. I hope you are.
Thank you,
Are
Dwayne.
you?
I
Are
am.
you? You are? That's beautiful.
I am, yeah.
Yeah, you should be. You should be. So, how did you get unstuck? Like, what is what happened after Orlando? How did you shift all of this to get to this place where you can write a book and say, I am unstuck?
That is a great question. I believe the work started in Orlando. It started with me being clear that where I am in my life, physically, emotionally, mentally, is not where I want to be. And so it was less about the relationship and more about me. I said, this is not how I want to live this maybe this last chapter of my life, the next 40, 50, 60 years. This is not how I want to live it. I don't want to feel this way. I don't want to continue to make these types of choices. And when I say choices, I don't want to continue to pick the same kind of man. They just look different, right? They look different, but at the core of who they are speaks volumes about who I am, because I am attracted to that, and I keep choosing. I keep saying yes. And so I started with making a decision. I did not know how, and I knew that the how wasn't even my responsibility. So I said, I'm going to continue to ask and to write it down. Dear Lord, Father God, if this is not for me, please remove it from my life. And God just started removing people, thoughts, and ideas, like really stripping me down. And I didn't have the resources that I thought I needed, even though I did. Like we always do. Sometimes people are like, I don't have the money, or I'm broke. I never was. I only thought I was, because I needed to kind of use that as an excuse as to why I wasn't taking better care of myself. I got a part-time job, and I was working in a cubicle, and I would cry every day. Every day I would cry, and then I would just get myself together. I'm going to work at this job that was, in my opinion, it was, I don't want to say it was beneath me, but it didn't serve me in any way, not even financially. And on this particular morning, I was really thinking, God, I know I can do better than this. What is happening? And I just kept saying, write it down and ask God for what you want. Write it down and ask. So I'm in my cubicle. Some days, if I wasn't crying and actually doing my job, I was talking to God and I was writing it down. And then I started making affirmation posts. People who worked the same position that I did, they would walk past my little cubicle and they would see my post. And they were like, there was no talking. They would tap me on my shoulder, and they had a note to give me. They were like, can you make me some of those? So I started making these positive affirmation posts. I am beautiful. I am courageous. I am unstoppable, all the things. And then I went to HR and I said, by the way, I do this thing, and I would love for the company to support me in doing this so that we could provide these for all of the people, because I'm sure people need this inspiration. A lot of people lack vision. That didn't go anywhere, but I kept it for myself and the people who were interested. I show up for work one day and I'm running a little late because I'm in the restroom and I have to wait for a stall. So I'm in the restroom and my key card, like it's on a lancet, my key card gets stuck in my zipper because I'm moving so fast trying to get my pants up so I can clock in and get to my cubicle. And the key card, the side of it, hits me in my eye. When I come out of the restroom, the way this woman looked at me, I was afraid to look at me in the mirror. And so I didn't. I just said, I got to clock in. I got to get to my desk. And the lady said, she said, I don't know. I think you should go to human resources. I don't. I get clocked in. I go to my desk. My supervisor comes over for something unrelated. And he said, Miss King, you need to leave. You need to go to the hospital right now. So I go to HR, they do the paperwork. I still don't look at my eye until I get to the urgent care, and my eye is literally just bleeding inside of it. They said I had a concussion and I need to be off for 3 days. I don't want to be off, because if I'm off, that means I have to be home with the man. And my spirit said, if you go home, something's going to jump off. It's not going to be good. But I had no choice because they would not let me come back to work. I go home, and those 3 days that I'm off from work, I end up basically being put out, finding a place to stay. And that was God's way of getting me out of that situation. And within
Hold on for a
3
second.
weeks.
Hold on. For me and the listeners. Now, you went through a concussion, your eye, you come home, you get put out?
Yes.
Okay. We heard
An
it
argument
right.
ensues.
Mm-hmm.
And I was told, if you don't stop with the mouth being smart, you can get up out of here. And I was like, you don't have to tell me but one time. And I packed a purse and I went to the leasing office and I made a call. And a woman that I did not know very well, all she said was yes. I didn't tell her. I just said, can you come get me? Can you come get me? Not, hey, girl, we just got into an argument. Nothing like that. Just, can you come get me? She's like, well, I think I remember where you live. Text me the address, and yeah, I'll be there in about 15, 20. And she was.
Wow. Look at God.
Look at God.
Look at God. So you get out, you move from Florida to Baltimore.
Bowie.
What?
Mm-hmm. I moved from Orlando to Bowie, Maryland. Bowie.
Okay,
Yes.
Bowie. Okay. I'm just generalizing. Baltimore, you're like, no, it's a little more prestigious than that. It's Bowie. I get you.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, in the story, in your book, you tell the story of how you show up at your sister's house after experiencing all of that.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And you get there, and what happened?
I arrive at my sister's house around 9, almost 10 o'clock at night. And I wasn't welcomed with the greeting that I used to be welcomed with and that I expected and really needed. And in her defense, it was later. She has a baby that she didn't want me to wake up. However, I really felt like here I am again, not wanted.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I felt like, my sister said yes, which I'm so grateful for. But it wasn't the best time in her life either. She was going through a divorce.
Mm-hmm.
And so it wasn't a good time for her. And I chose to come to Maryland versus going back to LA. A friend actually offered. She said, Fee, you can come stay with us until you get on your feet. And everything about that just felt wrong. And so I really took a leap of faith because I was like, I have no idea what I'm going to do in Maryland.
And what did you do?
Oh, that's a great question. My plan was, and I didn't even know that it existed, but I said, I had heard that you could rent a car through the Lyft program. There's a Lyft, it's called a ride share rental program. So you can rent the car through the Lyft app to start doing Lyft. And that was my plan. I said, I don't have I can't see myself going back into corporate. I don't know anything about being an actor here on the East Coast. I'm sure it's not much different than LA, but I just was not in that headspace. I was in the headspace of, I need to do 4 things, and I needed to happen ASAP. I was very strategic. The first thing was, I need to get back in shape, and I need to start eating the way that fills my spirit and my soul and my body. I need transportation. I need to make money. I need to make connections. I need to see people every single day. I need to connect with them. I need to give them my business card. I need to get theirs. I need to know after Bowie where I'm going to land, and Lyft did all of that for me.
Wow.
Lyft was the best decision I made. And I'm telling you, I was a lifting fool. 12 hours a day. I'm taking naps in East Potomac Park. I was 6, 7 days a week for years, not just, this is something I'm going to do for 4 months. It ended up being an 8-year experience. And I tell you, out of all the things that I've done, Uber and Lyft was the most humbling and the most freeing, the most exhausting, and on some level, the most creative.
Wow, that's beautiful. Thank you, Lyft and Uber.
Thank you, Lyft and Uber.
Thank you. So you created a blueprint to help women get unstuck.
Yes.
What is the first step for someone listening who feels lost or invisible?
Oh my goodness. The first thing I would suggest to a woman who's feeling lost and invisible, especially if you're over the age of 40, because it hits you different after the age of 40. As much as I didn't want to admit, my age came into play, if nothing else but in my mind, but I thought, how did you get here at this age? Like, you know better. So I would say to firstly ask yourself, where am I? Where am I locationally? Where am I in my finances? And that's what I did. I'm sitting in my sister's room. I'm now living like my whole life, my whole world had been downsized to a small bedroom where I'm sleeping in a bunk bed. I'm sleeping in a bunk bed. And I wrote down, and I remember reading it, where are you? Like, you know where you are. But I was like, no, where are you? So I'm physically in this room. I'm sleeping in a bunk bed. I'm physically in Bowie. I'm physically sad. I'm physically angry. I'm emotionally angry. I'm angry. And I'm disappointed. And then I wrote down, what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to get unangry. I'm going to get undisappointed. I'm going to get moving. I'm going to get happy. And part of me getting happy was to move. Like, for me, fitness it's not a job. It's not a, it's been my lifeline since I was 12 that I could remember. Like, when I knew this thing makes me feel so good. It takes away the pain. It makes me feel unstoppable. It makes me feel beautiful. It makes me feel peace. It makes me feel calm. It makes me feel like I can accomplish any and everything. And with hardly any resources, I went and got myself a gym membership because I said, I've got to invest in me. I must invest in me. I got to feel good. I'm putting in a lot of hours. So a lot of it starts with writing it down and really seeing it, and then asking yourself the question, because oftentimes it's not that we don't know the answer. We're not asking ourselves the right questions. Where am I? And what am I going to do to get myself to the happy place, to the fit place, get my finances together, get myself up out of my sister's house? Like, what am I going to do? Because no one can do it for me. The cavalry ain't coming. Ain't nobody coming to save you. No one came to save me. And when I say no one, no physical person, it was me and God. We were on this journey together.
I love when you said, I'm going to get unangry.
Angry.
That was powerful. I'm going to get unangry. And these are the steps that you use to get unangry.
These
right?
are that was one. So I created, I like to say I birthed a system, and I call it the VV, V is in Victor, V is in Victor, IAT, sorry, VV, A is in Apple, T is in Tony, which stands for validate, verify, implement, action, transformation. So you validate, you in my life, one of the things that I remember my mom saying to me, what was that say? There were so many, but one of them was, I pays the cost to be the boss. So that meant you don't have a say-so. You don't have feelings. You do what I say because I pay the rent. This is my house. So I didn't grow up being it wasn't made comfortable for me to say, I feel sad. Mama, I feel sad today. I don't think I've ever said that. Maybe when I was, a little girl, but from my formative years up until adulthood, it wasn't a comfortable place for me. There wasn't a comfortable space where I was allowed to say, I feel sad outside of acting. And that's why I loved acting, because I could, go through those litany of emotions as that character. But as Felicia, I wasn't allowed to say I'm sad, I'm mad, I'm angry, I feel disappointed. None of those things. For me, I'm strong. I got this. I'm good.
Mm.
I'm strong. I got this. I'm good.
Mm.
There's such a limited, use of the English vocabulary. We have all these emotions and these feelings, and we need safe spaces where we can say, you know what, today I'm feeling sad, and it's okay. You're not saying you are sad. You're just feeling sad. But if you're not even able to acknowledge how you're feeling, then how will you know what it feels like to not feel angry, to not feel like a victim, to not feel sad and low? So I mean, I went to work, and one of the things that I really want women, especially, but everyone, because men have these experiences and these feelings. Men have feelings too. I learned that by being with a group of beautiful men when I was practicing Buddhism. And that was the first time I learned that men had feelings, that men cry. I was like, my goodness, I've been living under a rock. You remember that, right?
Yes. I was
Yes.
so shocked that men were feeling. It was just like a foreign world, a foreign world to you.
It
It
was,
really
I
was.
mean, Dwayne, that's what I'm saying. If I were to go today, I can say, God, thank you so much. Thank you for these incredible people that you've placed along my path, who taught me so much just by being who they are. You, Stu, and Leslie. I was like, what kind of dudes are these? Like, oh, I didn't know. And, just all the guys, Hen. I was just like, wow. Wow, I did not know that men even had the capacity to feel as deeply as you all felt and shared with how you were feeling. And so I was saying, one of the things that I want for people to know is that sometimes you look at this work as if it's going to detract from your life, but it doesn't. It adds to your life. And it's not like you go off into a cave and you're like, okay, for 3 hours a day I'm going to do this work. That you actually become the work. And then you know that the work is working because you get to go out into the world and use it. And you also get to see where you might have some weaknesses, where you need to develop some new tools, or at least reach back into your tool bag and reach for that tool that's going to help you when you start to think that people are triggering you. No, you're being triggered by it. They're not triggering you, because ultimately you always have control. And no one's out here doing things to you, Felicia. No one's doing things to me. The universe is supporting me, and people are supporting me. It's me. And I tell you, I said, "Whoo, girl, I thought I was good." And so I thank Orlando. I am grateful for that 13 months in Orlando. I call it that bid.
Wow.
I did a 13-month bid.
Wow. 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 Your story is so amazing to me. Now, let me ask you, what's one affirmation that saved you at your lowest? Because you talked about, when you were at that job, you were writing affirmations. Is there one, or was there just many?
Oh my goodness. Dwayne, the truth is there were many. And that affirmation exercise that I started, well, I've done affirmations probably for 20, 25 years. But the difference in just affirming who you are is also confirming. So I began to affirm. And then by the time I got to Maryland, I started affirming. And what I would do to further embody it is I made confirmation cards for my Uber passengers. So I would laminate them. And right when they were getting out of the car, I'd have a bunch stacked and I would tell them to just, close your eyes and reach for whichever one is pulling you towards it from the top. It could be the middle or the bottom. And people love that so much. They were just like, oh my God, thank you. Because what I was saying to them is even though I don't know you, I know you. And when you read something that confirms and affirms that I am powerful, resilient, I am determined, I am unstuck, I am unstoppable, I am beautiful, I am talented. Repetition, but you got to do more than just read it and say it. You got to believe it. And one of my favorite movies in a scene is, was it Poetic Justice? Janet Jackson, when she's in the mirror and she's going through the litany of emotions. And I said, I've never looked at myself in the mirror and had a real conversation. And I was in that mirror and I'm talking crying. I was like, oh girl, you're an ugly crier. But I said, I get to see who I am and see what I'm capable of, but also see what I created. Because again, this is a line in my book, which is, if no one put a gun to your head and took you by force, you went willingly. You made a decision. You said yes. And that's one of the things that I want young people especially to know. I wish that I was empowered with the word no early on, because I had been also programmed and conditioned to say yes. Like, why? Why are we saying yes to things and to people that we don't want to? I no longer do anything I don't want to do. I'm not doing it anymore. No, with no explanation, just no. It's a full sentence.
Woo, you are freaking amazing. I mean,
Thank
amazing.
you, Dwayne.
And to wrap this up, I want to throw you some rapid fire questions. I want to
Let's go.
Let's go. Okay, here we go. One word to describe you at your lowest.
Resilient.
One word to describe you now.
Impossible.
Last time you truly laughed from your gut.
Yesterday.
A song that represents your healing.
Ooh, it's by Leandria Johnson, and it's called Grace. You know that song?
No, I don't. You want to sing a little bit for us?
Ooh, no. But I'm going to send you a link.
Okay, last one. What makes you feel unstuck today?
Oh, what makes me feel unstuck today is seeing evidence of what I have attracted. I've attracted an extraordinary partner. I got engaged. I never saw that again.
Wow.
Yes, and to a man I've known for 21 years. I'm now getting myself back to my art. That's one of the things that I learned while I was going through what I thought was a midlife crisis at the time. However, I realized it was simply a midlife reassessment. But what I learned is if we are not creating, if we're not finding an outlet, because a lot of times they'll say, oh, I'm not an artist, I don't have any artistic abilities. Everyone has an artistic ability, if not more than one. And what I realized when I was in Orlando is I was not making art. I was not writing. I was not creating. I was not even using that muscle. And once I got to Maryland, I started thinking about it. And I would tell my Uber passengers, I'm a writer who doesn't write. Not until I got engaged did that artistic light switch come back on. I was like, oh no, I thought I was done. And so now I realize I am just getting started again from where I am. I am getting started again. And you get to start over as many times as you want to, as you need to.
Wow, 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 wow. Okay, so what is your definition of the courage to be? What does that mean to you when you hear the courage to be?
My definition of the courage to be is to be whoever you want to be. This is your life, and you get to determine it. You get to dictate what you want for your life and from your life. You know, I was talking to someone the other day, and she said that she feels like she can't travel and live the life that she wants to because she's the only child. And she feels like as her mom ages, she needs to prepare her life to take care of her mother. And while that's admirable, I get it. Our parents, they live their lives. So this is the only life you're going to get. It's not like you get a do-over. So there's got to be a way for you to live the dreams, live the life on your terms, the life that you want, and also honor your parent and be able to be a supportive person for your parent without allowing your life to fade away because you feel, and she said this, I feel obligated. And I don't think that obligated in life ought to coexist. I don't want to live a life of obligation.
Mm, mm, mm. Whew. Okay, so my last question. If this moment was someone's pivotal moment, a pivotal point, what would you want them to take away? You've already dropped so many gems, but is there anything else? If this was someone's pivotal point, what would you want
If
them to take
this
away?
if this is someone's pivotal point, the one thing I would want you to take away is to just breathe before making any permanent decisions. To breathe. There was a wise woman who said that to me when it came to having sex. She told her daughters, before deciding to have sex for the first time, I just want to invite you to take 2 weeks and just think about it. Because so much can happen in a matter of 2 weeks or another day. And when I moved to Baltimore, I had thoughts of taking my own life for the first time in my life. And I remembered when this woman, she's an actress who shared this story with us, because I thought, I wish when I was, a virgin, I wish that I would have been privy to this knowledge. I think I would have waited. And when I was in that really dark place, I remembered that story. And I said to God, I made an agreement. I had the nerve to negotiate with God. I said, if I have no desire to work out tomorrow, this is the God's honest truth. Because sometimes I think people think that exercise or working out is shallow. This thing has saved not only my life, but it has saved my sanity. It has saved my sanity on more than one occasion. And I said, if I have no desire to work out tomorrow, and if I'm not able to come up with a solution, I need to find a way to end it. I went to sleep. I woke up the next day, and I had the strongest desire to go to Gold's Gym. I went to Gold's Gym, worked out, and then when I finished, I went outside in the parking lot, and I ran around the parking lot at Gold's Gym. And that was God's way of saying to me, it is not your time. And I came up with a solution for the problem that I was facing. And so my suggestion is to just breathe. And that sounds very simple, but when you think about it, when we're stressed and we're feeling panic and fears rising up, the first thing we do is we stop breathing. And that's why meditation is so valuable, because it brings you back to your breath. And just breathe.
Just breathe. Just breathe. I love that. I love that.
Breathe.
Oh, wow. This has been amazing. This has been amazing. This has been amazing. I want to thank you so much for being my first guest. You have been such a joy in my life. You really have. We used to make plans to talk every month until you got engaged and then you dropped me.
That's a shame. That's a
You just
shame.
dropped me, but it's all good. It's all good. I have
Like
worked
a
with
hot
you
potato.
like a hot potato. It's like, Dwayne, who? Who? Oh, okay. But no, all jokes aside, I am so happy that you found that great fiance because you were looking for a great man, and I have not met him yet, but I trust and know that he is great. If he's able to keep up with you, he's a great man. No, but seriously,
Amen to
he
that.
is. He is. But I just really appreciate you for being a beacon of light in Hollywood, in my life, in so many different areas. You're amazing. So please just keep being free, and please just keep being free. And please share with our audience how to always stay connected to you and how in the world can they get this amazing book?
Oh, thank you so much, Dwayne. I feel the same about you. I talk about you often. And I mean, I'm so grateful for you. And again, exercise and fitness, because if it were not for me being in a gym, I would have never connected with you. So shout out to Bally Total Fitness in
Yeah,
Hollywood.
Bally. Yeah, LA Fitness now.
Belly Fitness.
Yep.
And so people can connect with me via my website. It's www.fee, F-E-E, like I'm going to charge you a fee, hyphen, KING.com. Social media, all platforms, fees, fitness, over 40. And you can get my book from my website or there. It's Her Story Unstuck.
There you have it. The great, I told y'all this was going to be powerful. The great Fee King. Thank you so much. Follow her, buy the book, get into her, y'all. She's amazing, as you can see. Thank you so much.
Dwayne.
Fee King, y'all. That was some pivotal moments. If you don't feel that in your bones, check your pulse. This conversation was more than words. It was medicine. A reminder that strength doesn't come from pushing harder. It comes from telling the truth. From choosing to start over when the world tells you to sit down. Fee reminded us that transformation isn't a perfect process. It's gritty, it's vulnerable, it is never ending, and it's yours. If something today stirred your spirit, don't let that energy fade. Share this episode, leave a review, and most importantly, check in with yourself, as Fee said. Are you stuck? Are you ready to get free? Because the truth is, you were never broken, just buried. And this might just be your pivotal moment. To learn more about Fee King, her one-woman show, and her book, Her Story, Unstuck, head to www.b-king.com and at @bking on IG. And to go deeper in your own healing journey, visit me at authordwaynebarnes.com and explore the Courage to Be Freedom Coaching. Until next time, stay soft, stay strong, and stay true to your story. This is The Pivotal Point with love and the courage to be Dwayne Barnes.